Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with Kristine Kieland, a consciousness mentor and medium. Thank you for joining us, Kristine.
Oh, sweet. That's such a pleasure to be with you. Always enjoy our time together.
Always lovely meeting you, and people learn a lot from you, and we are always grateful to have you back. So,
Thank you.
today we are covering the topic of beyond life and death, and Kristine is one of the best person to explain that. So, Kristine, please, can you explain us what is life, what is death, and what is the importance of death?
What is the what of
Importance,
death?
importance of
The
death.
importance of death. Yeah. So both are consciousness. Both are an energy field. When you're in the body, you're in a dense energy field. It's very, very dense. And so the way we live now is the importance. Really, that I want to make sure I answer that. That will make the most sense to your listeners. And the importance of death is it's the exact same importance of life. And that's hard for us to understand because we understand the physical. We understand somebody's right in front of me. I'm having this experience with them. We're connecting. We're loving. We're arguing. We're like whatever, however you're relating. And death is just, for some it's a break. For some it's I stopped this experience. That's basically what death is. I stopped this experience. I kind of regroup. I see what's going on. I take a look at my life, how I interacted with others, how I responded with others, and what I want to do differently. What soul experiences, what concepts did I want to bring in? So it's kind of a resting place. It's a place to regroup. It's a place to gather information. It's a place to see what else you want to experience next. But what we're doing now, you will see many people just taking a pause in life and redirecting, getting information, and then continuing life. You don't have to leave the physical body to change life experience. And dying is not, and then when I say that, it's like, well, people may say, well, then why don't you stay? It's always a choice. What's the benefit of taking a pause? What's the benefit of taking a break?
Right, yeah.
People are like, wow, I did life, I got everything done that I wanted to accomplish. I experienced everything I wanted to accomplish. Or perhaps it may be, I wanted to accomplish what it is to be compassionate. I wanted to understand what it was to be more organized. Organization's also a spiritual concept. If you feel like you're not going to be able to do that to the best of your ability, or I want to be really careful with words because it's not a blanket statement. It's not every single life experience or every single death experience.
Yeah.
But you may feel like, I'm just off my path a little bit, so I'm gonna step out for a little bit, regroup, and come back in. But death is just a way to understand life, basically.
Death is so painful, and it feels like, oh, some danger is coming towards you, and it's like the end of everything. It feels like you're never going to meet your loved ones or be there, be part of life. You're going to miss everything.
It feels like that for the survivor. It does not feel like that for the person who crossed over. It does not feel like the person who transitioned. And death is painful to us because we stay in the moment of the separation.
Yep.
We stay in the moment of separation, and we go really far out and think that, again, it's not wrong, but you go so far out and think this life experience will never be the same. And that's accurate. Your life experience will never be the same. But we live in a third dimensional field, mostly fourth dimensional field, where trauma is how we understand life. We're emotional beings. Emotion guides us. Emotion kind of drives us. The best way to not be in grief is to just be in the moment. And part of being in the moment is allowing yourself to grieve, to have that pain. But it is such an intense pain when someone dies that you don't want to feel the pain. You want to push it down. You want to maybe you medicate yourself, through substances, through food or alcohol or drugs or shopping, whatever it may be. or just and you go into shock many times when somebody dies. You go into shock and you distance yourself. It's all okay, but if you can do the best, like today, I'm going to really feel the grief. It doesn't extend yourself, and it's
Okay.
I think what people fear is that death is painful,
Yes.
or that death is scary, or where do you go?
Right.
And I would ask people, is life painful? Well, at times life can be painful, right?
Yeah.
But the actual exiting of the body is not painful. It's literally like it can take people some time because people are afraid, maybe through belief systems.
It does
So
look
if I
painful.
leave the body, I get judged. I get judged, right?
Yeah.
Being judged in the physical body is not. It's very painful too. It doesn't
Right.
feel good to be judged, right? But I can guarantee you, you're not judged when you leave. There's no greater being. There's no counsel that judges you. There's no punishment.
Right.
You will judge yourself. The ideal is that you witness things. How did I live my life? Was it what I wanted to experience? How did I respond to people? Did I do it with my love and kindness, or was it with less than love? How can I do that differently? Did I experience what I wanted to? It's just death gives us the space and the time to witness and understand things without the density and the slowness of life.
Okay.
Right? For instance, if you have a child, if you're a parent, or everybody's a child. So let's just start. When you're a child,
Yeah.
your parent may have the intention of doing something for you. They may say, you know what, you're 3 years old.
Yeah.
I see how you're in the kitchen. You love to bake. I'm going to make sure you're a baker when you grow up, right? Because that seems like the thing. By the time the kid's 7, I don't want to be a baker. I want to be something different. And then the parent will see after life review, perhaps will see, not life review, in the physical body 30, 40 years later, my kid's miserable because they're doing something they didn't. So you get to see where your intention lays. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and you have a lot of people came in. Your mom's here. You got a lot of ancestors here, people that are watching. A lot of other people came in. So I'm kind of listening and watching everybody, making sure we get the best information out. But really want to let people know, truly, you are scared of death when you're scared of life. When you are scared of living an unlimited life, when you are scared that you could cause harm to someone through your actions or from living truly to yourself, that very often leads to a death that you're scared of. You may be scared that you didn't do things correctly. Maybe, and there's fear. There's sorrow for the person dying. Somebody who maybe dies for disease or somewhere like they know they're going to die. That I'm going to miss my people.
Right.
That I'm going to hurt them by leaving.
Right.
What's your human emotions? And we have so much help now. There's death doulas, there's hospice care, there's professionals, there's people that help you see that death is just another experience of life.
True. So,
right? Yeah.
With death, is there a decision already made that this person will die at this particular time? For example, people say that there are soul contracts. So, do we already? Yeah.
And it's always changeable. As a soul, you have freedom of choice. You have free will. So your soul plan, to me it looks like a whiteboard or a computer screen. And here's my best. I want to land in the body. I want to be born in this day with these, in this geographic location with all this information. And for my best soul experience, for the best evolution of my soul, you may have different life exit points. Maybe it's 12 or 36 or 72. If I die through this manner, what does that look like? If I die through this manner, what does it look like? And for some souls, it's like, nope, I'm absolutely leaving on this day, on this time, in this way.
Oh.
But you can also say, I think I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to take on another concept. Or I'm just going to enjoy it like your mom right now. She's just enjoying being her.
Yeah.
She's just enjoying not having an obligation. But you can do that in physical body. I'm not really going to take much on, but I'm just going to live another 12 years because I like being physical. With that said, if somebody you love leaves the body, they're not leaving because they don't love you. They're not leaving because they didn't like life. They're just leaving because it's, intellectually it's a little hard to wrap yourself around. It's like, I just want to exist someplace else for a while. I don't want to be in this dense field. Being in this dense field is a little hard to navigate. It's really kind of squishy, and we have so many misunderstandings. I say something to you, you misunderstand me. I mean, what do we have, 60, 70, 100 languages on this planet? I mean, I'm probably way off based on that. There's probably 300 languages. I don't know. So when you can't communicate well, it can be hard. And part of the death experience or the grieving experience is, did I communicate my love to this person? Do they really understand how important you are?
Yes.
And part of the pain, pain anchors in, this person was so important. This person was my entire life,
Right.
which may or may not be accurate.
Okay.
When someone dies, it's so
feel
extreme.
like a hole in your life, that absence.
It is a major hole, right? But is it accurate to say that person was your entire life before they died? And if they were, what was the benefit of having someone else be your entire life? It could be that was the sole purpose, to understand the care and devotion of someone else. But perhaps that person's leaving your life to maybe transfer it. Maybe what it is to have care and devotion to yourself. But what is it to understand separation? What is it, there's all these concepts involved. But absolutely, it feels like, I kind of forgot what I was saying. The whole is real. But it's not accurate to say, it's just very extreme. And when someone dies, it feels like they are your whole life. And what's painful about death is that nobody understands it.
True.
Because nobody has your experience.
True.
Two sisters can have a parent die, or two sisters can have a sibling die. They're both experienced it a little differently. One may be totally into the grief. One may pull back. One may seem selfish. One may seem apathetic or distant, because you're having your own experience. And you had your own experience with the person who died. You may think it's the most wonderful person in life. Somebody else may think, well, that person was kind of, not very nice to me. So, but to really look at it and say, was this person really my whole life? This person was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And what's hard is that the rest of the world doesn't recognize it. You are in terrible pain. You're in terrible grief, and the world just goes on. And you're like, my person just died.
Yeah.
How come you don't understand?
Right. That does happen.
So it's not wrong. But really, I have talked to literally thousands of people who have left the body. Not one is left in pain. Not one has not been greeted in love, and not one has been judged.
Oh.
Sometimes people they don't realize that they have died. Sometimes they desire to stay with their family or friends. Sometimes they desire a break. Sometimes they desire, sometimes they go right into what they consider their hands of God or whatever their religious figure is. Sometimes they just go into this big, beautiful field of colors and, energy fields. Sometimes they literally walk through like a pastoral field in a farmland, and they're sitting having drinks with their family or playing cards or playing with children, or sometimes they just go into they see the animals. There's always greeters for you. There's always support. There's always someone there for you. You don't have to greet. You don't have to go through that process. Death is just like choice. There are multiple choices. Death is just like life. There's multiple choices.
Okay. But can you
explain
also to the viewers, what happens exactly after death? Are there dimensions? We usually tend to believe that there are hierarchies or dimensions.
Yeah. Pretty much the way it is right now, it's shifting a little bit, but pretty much you leave in the dimensional field you left in. You leave in the belief system, the vibration that you left it. You have the ability to be more, have a greater understanding of what's going on. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it. So for instance, and that's where the hierarchy kind of comes in. So a person may leave life and their belief system may be, you know what, I don't want to take responsibility for mine. I blame other people. I'm very critical. I think God's very critical. I feel judged. I feel burdened. I feel, we're talking about more the negative, what we consider negative things. They will cross over and they will still be negative. They will still be bossy. They will still be critical. If they show up in a reading, they will still be trying to tell their daughter what to do or their family what to do. Or they may say, well, I couldn't live a very happy life because my husband wasn't nice to me or my children weren't nice to me or I didn't have the job I liked. So they stay in that vibrational field until they get bored with it. And they're like, you know what, I really don't like existing in this mindset, basically. And then they elevate to a higher consciousness where they start to say, you know what, maybe I had some say in my life. Maybe my husband wasn't really as mean as I thought, or maybe my children were kind to me, but I rejected love for whatever reason. Or maybe I was in this career because I see the value of being in this career, right? And that's where you start to expand. And that can take a couple weeks or 300 years.
Oh.
There's no right or wrong. There's no timing. There's no process you have to follow. There can be. I talked to some people say they really like the process, but in this physical life, they like the process too. So you leave with your personality. You stay in your personality for a while, and you evolve into the greater soul, and then you start to create. Eventually, you start to create a new life plan, new people to bring into your life, and a new personality to go with that. But for someone, so what might make sense is people always want to know, how is my person? Are they okay? Do they know me? Do they watch me? Do they pay attention to me? Yes. My dad, and so I'll just tell you a personal story. Maybe it makes it more relatable if I can share a personal story. My dad died when I was 25. I'm now 59, 58, 59. And he still shows up as my dad. His personality comes in. He's very, I just know it's my dad. But if I take a step back, I see him as the bigger soul. That's not my dad. I see his next life plan, what he's doing. But for me, he will always show up as my dad. That's our connection.
Okay.
So the pain of thinking that, I think some people think, well, if my person dies, then I don't exist. What's my value to them? Right? And that's what I wanted to say earlier, and I got sidetracked. Part of the pain of grieving is the pain keeps the importance of the person relevant. This person is so important in my life, and at times this is my whole life. This person is my whole life. This person understood me so well, or this is how I related to life, or this person supported me, or whatever the reason be. I mean, sometimes it's a financial support, sometimes it's emotional support. But when you start to lose the pain, it's like, oh my gosh, now I'm saying the person wasn't that important to me.
So, what about rebirth or getting reborn? Is that timeline fixed or anything?
No, it's not. We have a reincarnation cycle, and some people just it kind of looks like a Ferris wheel. You just kind of get off one ride and get right back on, right? And many souls do that. You don't have any. You don't take a life review. You don't see any. It's kind of like you just. Well, I'm going to obey. There's a being here. God's telling me to just get back in and have life again, right? And that's when life can maybe get a little messy because you don't have any recognition of the last life. And that's why we do things repetitively, because we didn't take a pause. Eventually, you start taking more pauses in between.
Does the soul get to...
Again, it's not right or wrong.
Okay. Does the soul get to choose where to get reborn or what to do?
Absolutely. Yep. You choose according to what will be the most value to the soul. So you will choose your gender. You will choose your race. You will choose your economic situation. You will choose where you're born on the planet. You will choose if you have parents that stay together forever, or parents that, maybe sometimes people have 5 or 6 parents that think, through step parents and all that, or through adoption. What's the value of that? There's always a value. Am I going to have one sibling, no siblings, lots of siblings? Am I going to, everything is set up for the best experience for the soul. And there will be concepts you want to embody. And then you set up, it's kind of like, maybe it looks like a bunch of loving souls sitting together at a card table or something. How are we going to play the best hand for this life? I'll offer you this. No, I'll offer you this. And so it's an interchanging of the best experiences. But everybody has free will. So you may have an agreement with somebody, well, you're going to be my sister or you're going to be my spouse. Somebody may decide, you know what, I'm just not going to do it. And then you have to readjust. The soul will always readjust in life. It's always free will, but there's always a plan. And you do that plan with your highest self, with your guides, with Source, with the universe, with God. Like, you always have support and guidance. And you always have a pretty good idea of how life will play out. So to me, it looks like a 5-finger glove. If I come in and I have, if I'm born to parents that stay married, happily married their whole life, and I'm the only child, what will that experience be like? If I come in and I have same parents, but 5 siblings, what does that look like? If I come in and I have, my mom dies when I'm 12, how is that different than something else? And you agree and you say, well, you know what, all those experiences and all the possibilities, because possibilities will change throughout your life as timelines change and the vibration change, is that something that is agreeable to my soul experience? And then you decide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Kind of,
People, they go in denial of death and or they go into depression. It's not easy to pull them out of that or that shock that they have received.
Yeah.
And even how to remove fear, if you can guide in these conditions, what should people do?
Yeah. So is it the fear of the dying or the fear of the death? Or so you have to kind of figure out what the fear is.
Maybe fear of seeing the loved ones die or thinking that they will die.
Yeah. We'll start with, and again, it's like if you're watching somebody actively die through like an illness or something, right? And the body looks uncomfortable. And the body is uncomfortable because one, the organs are shutting down. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't need to be in pain though.
Mm-hmm.
And the fluids losing. But really what you're watching is the soul's kind of coming in and out. When you see someone kind of get agitated and irritated, and they just look and you're feeling so bad for your person where you're thinking, oh my God, you must be suffering. The soul's kind of adjusting to the vibrational field, so it's kind of coming in and out. So it's almost like, if I put on a sweater, I have to have some movement.
Okay.
So you're watching the soul adjust to the different vibrational fields. And as we learn more, we're letting people die a conscious death without medication. Again, if somebody died with morphine and medications, that's not a bad thing, but it's just like kind of a fog they need to work through later. And that's okay, because there's always assistance or anything. But that uncomfortableness, it's not always accurate. Now, there can be pain in the body, right? There can certainly be pain in the body through illness or disease. But what you can do is to alleviate the fear of death is to sit with death. You are a very strong and courageous and brave person. Or if somebody has a heart attack or a car accident or has a stroke, or we're talking about where we're able to be with the person before they die, be brave. Cry. Talk to them. Tell them I love you. Tell them everything you need. Don't miss that opportunity. Because I can guarantee you are braver and stronger than you think you are. And I've heard some people say, don't touch the body. It may be hard for the person to leave. Not necessarily accurate. It kind of depends on the person.
Yeah, a lot of people they say that the soul that is leaving the body, it might take 1 hour to 4 hours to even 14 days for the body to completely die.
It does. It takes minimum about, and again, this is kind of a blanket statement. It takes minimum about 3 days for the body, for the energy of the body to totally leave. But that is physical energy. The soul connects it like that.
Okay.
So if you cremate a body or do something like that, there may be some, it's not harm, but there's a recognition, right? There's just some recognition that it's really not harm. I'm just double checking. It's not harm. So it's physical energy, but that's a little bit different than the soul spirit. You're not harming or contaminating the spirit in any way.
Okay.
And we have these belief systems because there's some accuracy to it.
Yes.
If you were able to look at it, on a microscope or do a scan on the body, you would see there's still energy in the cells. But it's all like if I turn off the fan in my office, the electricity's not there, right? But it takes a while for the blades to stop spinning. It's a little bit like that.
Right.
And then, and sometimes you don't have a chance to say goodbye to someone, and
Yeah.
that's a different type of sorrow and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Know that you are always connected. Know that your person always hears you. You always hear them, even if you don't know you're hearing them. So if I'm talking to you and the sound stops, I'm still talking to you. You're still going to get some vibration from me. You may get it just like we're visual, so you'll be able to see, am I angry at you? Or am I loving to you? It's the same thing out of the body. So still talk to your person. Tell them you're not harming them by saying I miss you. You're not keeping them in place. That's a genuine love connection, right? And if you're angry at the person because they left, or you're sad, like, do not discount your feelings. They're real. They're part of your experience. That's how you overcome grief, is you allow yourself to grieve.
Right.
And people will say, boy, it's been a month. Aren't you over? And society says, in the United States, most companies, it may be changing, most companies, you may get 3 days to grieve when someone dies. 3 days for a funeral, and you have to be back at work. And it only depends, and they tell you who's important in your life. Somebody else tells you who's important. Your mom and dad, you get 3 days. A sibling, you might get 1 or 2. Your best friend, you don't get any time off. Like,
Not right.
who decides how you grieve? No. So I get to decide how I grieve, and I get to decide how it's too long. When you learn to honor yourself, you're also honoring the person that died, but it's really like you get to decide how long you grieve.
Right.
And you may say, I can only do a deep dive for 2 weeks, and I'm gonna take a break for 6 months. Or somebody may say, you know what's not helpful?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just not the most helpful. Is medicating someone after grief,
Mm-hmm.
because it just pushes it down. There's other ways. Get in touch with the body. Breathing is really good. Breathing with your heart. I'm not saying if you need assistance through medication or intervention, I'm not saying you shouldn't get it, right? But just see there may be other ways. Maybe it's taking a walk outside.
Yeah.
Maybe it's doing some kind of movement. Maybe it's music, petting animals, taking a walk. It's okay to feel. It's okay to be human. And I think that's part of the fear of death, is that my understanding of life is that it's painful. That there's been some experiences that have been painful. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So one last question for today. Mostly people are interested in knowing if we'll go to hell or we'll go to heaven, or what's the difference, or it really exists.
It exists in your mind. So if your belief system is, I need to be punished, and I will go to, and I'm going to. Honestly, I've never seen anybody go to hell. I've never ever seen anybody, ever. I've seen people go into, I'm not sure where I'm at. I'm not sure, did I even die? I think I'm still, maybe if it's an overdose, maybe I think they're still sleeping. I've seen people be pleasantly surprised that there is no hell. But again, if your belief system is really that there's nobody there for me, and you truly believe, like there's no God, there's no universe, there's nothing, you may go into just a blank space for a while until you recognize, oh, this isn't totally accurate. There may be people, basically, there's less and less people truly believing on a soul level that there's a hell and a punishment. But if that's your belief system, that's what you will experience until you don't, until you start to sleep with the right system. But most people, and again, I've talked to thousands of people, I've not seen anybody go into that space. You go into loving arms, or whatever your definition is. It's this vibration of love and support, and job well done. You did great, and there's 1,000 people there to cheer you on, and there's animals, and there's just, it is your biggest celebration.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And what we're working on is getting the biggest celebration while we're in the physical body. Let's celebrate life,
Right,
as much as we celebrate death on the other side.
Right.
And so it will help you to have less grief going along. When you're in grief, the best you can do is, I'm just going to work through it. I'm going to really allow myself the time and space to do it. And it might even be, I have a life, right? I have to live my life. Talk about the person, talk about your grief. And maybe you say, I only have 10 minutes a day, but that 10 minutes, I'm going to go in my shower, in my garage, or go for a walk, and I'm going to just really grieve. I'm going to grieve so hard. I'm going to let all those tears out, right? Healing is movement and sound and tears. So you move the body. You make whatever sound you need to make. And when you're grieving, it's guttural, right? And you let the tears come.
And prayers also do help.
The next day, prayers help. And prayer is for my best, for what's in my best interest and what's in my person's best interest. So prayer does not have an expectation or a demand. It can, but it's not the best for you or for your person, because you don't know the whole picture. So if I pray for the best for you and for my person, for the most loving and kind experience, that's my prayer. And that they feel my love and that I feel their love. And then make it from that. But to put a qualification on it, perhaps isn't best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So how do you really not fear death? Be fearless in your life. And what I hear people say many times, I know we have to wrap it up, but I hear people say many times, is my person didn't know I loved them. I wasn't good to them. Oh, I feel so bad.
Yeah, all that
After your
judgment.
opportunity.
Mm.
Yep. So love the people you love fearlessly. Let them know you love them. Touch them. Be with them. But do the same thing for yourself.
Mm.
And try new experiences. It's scary to try new experiences, right?
Yes.
So that kind of is your training for my life has shifted and changed. And some people are really good at having shift and change, and some people don't. So again, life is a learning experience, just as death is a learning experience. It's to expand your consciousness. Death is to expand your consciousness.
Got it.
Does that help?
It's wonderful. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. Really, I think this will help everyone who will listen to this, and they can be more fearless and face life, be happy, and face death the same way. Yeah.
Good. And know that your person hears you.
Yeah.
Your person hears you, and they are okay. They are okay. And they want you to be okay. They want you to be happy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sita. Thanks, honey.